that's the advice that I've heard from so many people, because we see graduation and we see these kids going out into the real world is kind of what we see, and it is about making choices, and it is about being around influences, good influences, and being a good influence in turn. I sit back there and I get emotional. I mean, you're emotionally attached to every single story, and that's the thing. Every seat that's sitting up here is a story. I mean, every child has a different story. Every child has a different path, but ultimately we're all going to the same Creator, you know. And we all have different. I don't want to sound like Oprah and say we've all got different ways to get there, but God's going to get you there. You know, we all come to know the Lord, and then we go through life. And we go through life, and we accept the challenges, and we accept the hardships and the hurt that we endure, and we do everything we can to get up and to move on. But I just wanted to say to all of you, God is good. God is always good. There's never a time when God is not good. And it pointed me directly to Psalm 139, and I know I've preached on it, but if I could give you some advice, because one thing I thought when I was younger is I thought I knew everything. I mean, I thought I knew it all. I thought I had experienced it. I thought I was prepared. I thought I was ready. You know, and at the point I probably was for what I was pursuing in life, because God was not a big part of that. God was not a big part of that. And my prayer for you as you sit up here and as you think about your tables and you think about Friday night and Saturday night and whatever any other night that you might have graduated, my prayer is that it all comes back to the Lord, because He is your Creator. He is the one that has rolled out your life. He's the one that knows your days. So I wanted to walk you through this psalm. It's really me just, I guess, to take the word from Angela, winging it. But it's winging it from the Lord's direction this morning. So Psalm 139, it's a cry from David, and he starts out this way. He says, "You've searched me, Lord, and you know me." Okay? There is no one that knows you like the Lord. If I could speak specifically to the graduates, but everybody in the room needs to hear this. There's no one alive. There's no one that you've been in contact with. There's no one that you've had a relationship with. Your parents, no one knows you like the Lord knows you. No one has searched you like the Lord has searched you. And in verse 2 it says, "You know when I sit and when I rise, and you perceive my thoughts from afar." You know me so well. I love this. You know me so well that you know everything that I'm thinking. You know everything that's on my mind. And if we were honest with ourselves, we'd probably say, that's not good. I mean, that's not good all the time, because I've thought some bad things in my life. I've thought some negative things in my life. I've thought there were nights when I sat in my room and I thought, you know, I don't even have any purpose. I don't even have a reason to be here. You know, and if we think about God who created our life and we think about Him knowing that we've thought that's kind of hard. But David here, he says, look, you know when I sit down. And you're watching everything. You know when I rise from my seat. Not only that, you perceive my thoughts from afar. And he says, you discern my going out and my lying down. He's trying to say here, you know everything about me. Everything about me. And he says this, he says, before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, you know it completely. And here's the deal. It doesn't matter what that word is. He knows it. He already knows that you're going to say it. He knows every word that I've referred to the word bank a lot. He knows every word in your word bank. He knows when you're going to use it. He knows why you're going to use it. He knows the purpose behind it. He knows the intent that you have with those words. And that's frightening to me. As beautiful as this psalm is, it's also a little frightening to know that God knows us that well. Like, in other words, we're not hiding a whole lot from God. We can hide some things from people that are close to us, and we can hide some things from the general public, and we might can go out into public and look good, and we might can hide behind facial expressions and whatnot, but God knows your heart. God knows your words. He knows your thoughts. He knows your actions far before it even happens. He knows it. He says, you hem me in from behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. One thing that you need to know, if I had to make a point to the graduates, the first point I would make is God's hand is on you. Like right now, even if you don't feel it, I know that there are times I've had an opportunity to experience a lot of one of the graduates is hurt. I'm not going to say that I share in that because obviously I can't, but I've been there and I've seen it. I know that there were times when it didn't feel like God's hands were on these people. I know that there were times in your life when you were coming through school that you might have thought, man, I hear these words that the preachers are saying, and I'm a part of Sunday school, and I'm a part of small groups. I just don't feel like God's there. If God is so mighty and God is so good, why am I experiencing these hardships, and why am I going through these trials, and why are my parents the way that they are to me, and why are they the way they are to each other? I just don't get it if God's so good, if His hand's on me. I don't understand it. See, these are the things that we don't talk about with graduates. There's a lot more than academics and their ability to get up and go forward in their life. They're also dealing with you and your actions. Parents, they also have to go through life and maneuver through life based off the decisions that we've made in our life and the examples that we've said and the things that we've said, not only to them but to our spouses. They see that. We were called to be the example for them, and they're trying to maneuver around what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. So sometimes I could understand where they would think, well, man, if God is so good, and if God has His hands on me, why in the world am I experiencing what I'm experiencing? And he goes on in verse 6, and he says, such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. So obviously he's praising God for this. He's praising God that He knows him so well. What I said to me was a fear that, hey, God knows what I'm thinking, God knows what I'm saying, and His hand's upon me. It's kind of creepy that God knows me that well and that He's watching me so closely, like He's just hovering over me. But David says, that's just too much for me. That's just too wonderful for me. It's so much that I can't even begin to understand it. Here's why. There's one word. It's called grace. It's called grace. That's why it's so much for him to understand, because David knows who he is. Okay? If we were honest to ourselves, and if Jeremy knows who he is, God knowing me and watching me and wanting to have His hand upon me based off of my decision and my lifestyle choices and those things, that's really lofty. It's really wonderful that the Creator of the universe knows me that well and continues to pursue me. That kind of summarizes that paragraph. You know me how I am, and you still have your hand on me. You're still guiding me. You're still watching me. Like my mistakes didn't make you want to leave. Listen, God is not like a person in your life. He's not going to quit on you when you make bad choices. He's just not. I mean, that's not who my God is. And I'm thankful for that. And I pray that you are as well. And he says, that's just too much for me to understand. And he goes further. He says, where can I even go? Listen, I can go in and tell you most of the time what happens when I pray that this isn't the case. But this is going to be an option. This is going to be a choice that all four of you are going to have to make. You're going to have to choose to continue to pursue God. Because you're going to be off at college. It doesn't matter that you say, hey, I'm going to come back all the time. That's going to fall to the wayside really quick. And I'm not prophesying, I'm not predicting over your life. I'm just telling you it's going to be a lot. You're going to have a lot on your plate. And one of the first things, I've said it in sermon after sermon, one of the easiest things to sacrifice is a trip back to go to church. Worship. It's the easiest thing to let go of. It's on a Sunday morning when you can catch up for Monday. I'm encouraging right now all of you to get involved immediately in something. Small group, whatever you can get involved in. Prayer group, get involved in it. If you can't find one, you know what? Maybe that's your call to start one. Maybe that's your call. But trust me, from somebody that's been there, get involved and make a statement that you are not going to abandon the one thing that's gotten you here. Make that statement. He says, where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to heavens, you're there. If I make my bed in the depths, you're there. I know that a lot of you have made your bed in the depths. I know that some of you in your 18, your 19 years of life have been depressed. But I heard it in a letter this morning. God goes where parents can't go. God is always there when someone can't be there. And it could very well be the reason that you sit here right now is because God ordained that path. And God made this happen. And he goes on and he says, if I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand's going to guide me. So he's right back on it. God's hand is on him still. Doesn't matter how much he's tried to get away. Listen, doesn't matter how much he's tried to run away and how much he's tried to get away from it. God is still there pursuing him and guiding him. That's big to me. Because I missed out on a large portion of the Lord in my life. A large portion. I was 30 years old before I ever knew that God existed like he does. Now, I knew that there was a God. It's not that my parents didn't teach that there was a God. I knew that there was a God, but I did not know that there was a pursuit that was necessary. I did not know that I had to have a desire in me to know God. I didn't understand that. I didn't get that. I didn't know that. It was 30 years before I came to know Christ. And now I'm encouraging you to continue to pursue him. And it is a mutual thing. It is something that you have to pursue him as well. His hand is not going to leave you. He is going to continue to guide you. Whether you want him there or not, he is going to continue to be there. But it is your choice to establish that relationship and to make that call. And he goes on, he says, if I say, surely the darkness will hide me and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. And I love this, verse 13. For those of you that have thought, man, why am I the way that I am? You know, why have I got to look this way? Why have I got to feel this way? Why have I got to be who I am? You know, why can't I be like so and so? Like their life seems to be all put together, and they always seem to be behind a smile, and everything seems to be going great. In verse 13, he says, for you created my inmost being, the part that nobody sees. My inmost being. Not the outside. He says, you knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I'm what? Fearfully and I am wonderfully made. Fearfully and wonderfully made. There's some power behind those two terms. Because we don't always feel wonderful. And we certainly don't always feel like we can just overcome anything, right? Most of the times, I believe we live as a people that are pretty fearful. Pretty fearful. He says you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Like you are made to overcome things. You are made to do big things in life. Listen, I write this in my kids' yearbooks all the time. I always tell them this. And they probably won't understand what I wrote in their yearbook for 6 or 7 years, but I pray that there's a day that they open up that yearbook and they read those words and they think, he was exactly right. He was right. He was right about that. One thing that I write in there is don't ever settle for good enough. Because people are going to tell you, so-and-so, that's good enough. Well, you know what? Nowhere in the Bible does it say that God made you to be good enough. It says he made you to be wonderful. He made you to be fearless. You are wonderfully made. It's not enough to be, it's not just good enough. You want to always do your best. Always push out to do your best. I tell them this, be you. Be you. You don't have to be like anybody else. The one person who needs to accept you in your life did it far before you were even a thought. He's already accepted you. You don't have to be accepted by a peer group. You don't. Most negative things in life happen because somebody's trying to be a part of something that they were never meant to be a part of. And you created my inmost being, you knit me together, and he says, I praise you. I praise you because I understand that I am fearfully and I'm wonderfully made. He says, your works are wonderful. What you've done inside of me and what you continue to do around me, David says, man, that's awesome. That's wonderful that you do that. And he says, I know that full well. He said, my frame was not hidden from you when I was in that secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of woven. Let me say it right. When I was woven together in the depths of the earth, your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them even came to be. Listen, that is mind-blowing to me. And again, I'm winging this, but that verse, all of my days were ordained for me. They were already planned out. They were already accepted. They were already checked off on. God, you said that these things were going to happen. These things were going to come to fruition. They were already written down in your book. You had this planned well in advance. So you know what that means? For those of you that might be struggling with that, what you're going through, God's already checked it off. So apparently there's more things and there's another page. He's already checked it off. He's already been there. He's already said it's going to be okay. It's going to be good. You're good. You're good. So he has more plans for you. He says, before one of them even came to be. And he says this in verse 17. How precious to me are your thoughts, God. And at this point, I'm thinking he's pretty emotional right here. How precious are your thoughts? He says, how vast is the sum of them? How much do you think of me? And this is what he says. He says, were I to start counting them, they would outnumber the grains of sand when I awake, and I am still with you. So I did a little experiment. I didn't get any sand. I actually think it's ant bed, but I got dirt. I got the closest thing. And he says, this description is, he's giving you a description that you can't relate to, that you can't figure out, that you can't comprehend. And I want to show you what he's talking about. He says, if this is how many thoughts you have of me. If I were to count them, they would outnumber the grains of sand in the world. Okay, so I went and got a little scoop of dirt out from outside, and I've tried to sift out a grain of sand, and I just can't. It's impossible. I can't do it. I can get dirt. I can get a bunch of dirt in my hand, but I can't sift out one grain of sand. And David is saying, lay those out, grain by grain, and count them. That's how much the Lord thinks of you. Well, guess what? I probably have thousands of grains of sand right here on this little envelope, right here. And this doesn't even scratch the surface of what's in the world. That's how much the Lord thinks of you. For those of you that go through life unloved, you feel unloved. You feel like just everything just keeps happening to you and that the Lord's not there and His hand's not guiding you, His hand's not watching you. David says, look, it's far more than you know. It's far more than you can ever comprehend, far more than you can ever feel from another human being. I love you way more than that. And he gives this example. And then he talks about a circumstance. All this beautiful stuff through 18, and then in verse 19, he flips the script. And he almost comes unglued here. But here's what he's doing. He's going through a circumstance and a situation, as we all do. He's praised God, and now he wants to make sure that when he goes through this hardship, that his heart, listen to this, that his heart isn't misplaced. He doesn't change the way that he feels about God. He wants to make sure that he goes through this hardship, and I wish we would do this as adults. I wish we would do this more. He wants to make sure that when he goes through this time of gossip, when he goes through this time of hardship, when he goes through these feelings that he has for other people, he wants to make sure that it's okay with God that he feels this way. He wants to clear it. He don't want to be anxious for no reason. And he says this, he says, if only you, God, would slay the wicked, Away from me, you who are bloodthirsty. They speak of you with evil intent. Your adversaries misuse your name. Listen, people are going to try to pull you away from the Lord. I mean, they are. They are. You're going to have friends that they aren't going to tell you, hey, I don't want you to go to church. I don't want you to be a part of that whole God thing. They're going to try to pull you into places that the devil will discreetly do things with you. And you will have to make a choice. Because your parents aren't going to be there. Some of you are like, amen. Your parents aren't going to be there to make that decision for you. And unfortunately, sometimes we have to make wrong decisions and wrong choices in order to learn. But the idea is to be grounded with God so that the small ones, there's really no option but God. There's going to be people that try to pull you away from your promise. There's going to be people that try to pull you away from your plan. And then he says this in verse 21. He says, do I not hate those who hate you, Lord, and abhor those who are in rebellion against you? Should I not hate the people who do that? He says, I have nothing but hatred for them. I count them my enemies. And then he says this. And this is my prayer for you. This is what I pray, that every morning I pray that you wake up and this is your cry. Every single morning, for parents, for graduates, for children, whatever it is. Verse 23 says, search me, God, and know my heart. Know my heart. Search me and know my thoughts. Search me, as you did in the beginning where he starts out, he says, you've searched me, Lord, and you know me. He closes out in verse 23, he says, search me, God, and know my heart. Search me and know it. Know my intent. And he says this, I don't particularly like asking for this. I don't know about you, but he says this. He says, test me. I don't want to be tested. Job was tested. And we know what happened to Job. He lost everything. Job was tested. Paul was tested. Paul had a list of things that he experienced in his testing. I don't want that. But I want the faith that David has here in God. Because it's what brings him from the cave. It's what gives him life. It's what guides him. He asks for God to search him. If there's things that aren't supposed to be on my heart, if there's things that I'm not supposed to feel, God, get rid of those things. If there's hatred in my heart, if there's bitterness that I've hung on to and that I've held on to in my life, God, get rid of it. If there's like a disability to move on, God, get rid of it because it's hindering me. And that's what David is crying out here. If something's holding me back, God, get rid of it. He says, and know my anxious thoughts. Know what's setting me back. Know what's causing me to not want to move forward. What's keeping me from serving you. What's keeping me from worshiping you. What's keeping me from moving away from people that I probably shouldn't be around because your name is not being glorified and I'm not following you. Know my anxious thoughts. And he says this in verse 24, last verse. He says, see if there is any offensive way in me. I don't think we intentionally wake up and want to be offensive. Listen, I'm a pastor and I go through pastor days and I go through people days. Or one day, I feel like I can do no wrong. I have all the right things to say to people. I have all the right feelings towards people. But then I have people days where there are people that I don't want to be around. There are people that I don't want to hear. There are people that I don't want to see. There are names that I don't want to hear. There are discussions that I don't want to be a part of. There's gossip that I get involved in. I'm not perfect. And listen, you aren't either. And you never will be. Perfection was how God created you. You were born into sin, so you were born into struggle. You were born into hardships. You were born into having to make choices. And you're not always going to, listen to me, graduates, as we close this out. You're not always going to make the right choices. You're just not. And that's life. And you'll be punished for wrong decisions, and you'll be awarded for good decisions. But the underlying theme of today is to know that God has His hands on you, no matter where you are. If you're on top of the world, or if you feel like you're just buried, God is still with you. And God knows you. And He has a plan for your life, even though you may feel so confused about life right now. God has a plan for you. My prayer for each of you is that you will find that and that you will search that. And that you will keep God at the forefront of your life. And you will not allow the past to keep you from the promise. And that you will continue to be an example. I'm going to close out a little differently today. Someone shared a song with me, and it's a little upbeat song. But someone shared a song with me because we've experienced some hardship over the past year and a half of my life. And this person said, it just made me think of you. And I watched it and I thought, man, that is so powerful. So I want you to be in prayer, but I want you to do it like Baptist people do it. I want you to keep your eyes open. Okay? And I want you to pay attention to the lyrics of this song. And you don't have to cheer me on. We talked about this, we joked about this. You can say amen whenever you want to say it, or you can sit there quietly and you can just let these lyrics pierce your heart. But I want you to hear the message behind this story, because I do believe that we make choices to follow God in every single circumstance. You can praise Him on the mountain, and you can praise Him in the valley. So I want you guys to listen to this. And if you feel led to come up and pray, please do so. And don't let it discourage you that people are looking. If you have something on your heart that you want to let go of, use this song as your battle cry.